We are going back to the location with the farmer, where I shot the video. This drone confrontation ended my DJI Mini 3 Pro test for a 2024 update. The original video did extremely well here on the channel. So it seems like it's a very interesting topic for you as an audience. A lot has happened to the rules, at least here locally, since I shot the original video. So I thought it would make sense to go back to the original spot and do a test flight and show you what all that is about. So let's pack up and get on the road. Let's grab this suction cup as well, so we have something to mount the camera. So what will be super interesting is that I'm actually not riding or driving the same car that I'm usually using, because I'm borrowing my father's car at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see if he actually shows up, the farmer, when he spots a new car on the location with me flying my drone. While we're going there, it's very close by. So let me just remind you that the original video was recorded outside the city because I had to go and test the smart controller. I had some confrontations in the past when I was doing like very extensive testing of the drone. So I thought I would go outside the city to a remote location to basically do my testing without people coming and disturbing me all the time. But that ended up differently. Let's just replay the original sequence so you know what it's all about in case that you haven't seen it. So I was concentrating very deeply and I was trying to do all sorts of things with my cell phone and AirPods to try and see if I could break the connection to the drone that was located somewhere 300-400 meters out over the field. Then a white van appeared and it was pulling in and parking next to me on this remote parking spot outside the city. And then it can either go two ways. Either it's somebody that's interested in what you're doing, or it's somebody that wants to approach your flying. I always start out friendly by greeting people. Hi. But to be quite frank, I was actually a little bit annoyed that I had to deal with this right now. So the guy steps out of the van and immediately starts to scout the horizon. Then he kicks off the conversation by saying, "Are you the one that is flying your drone over my property over there?" I immediately tell him I'm not the one. Then he said they have a lot of nerve as they keep circling around my garden. Then I reconfirmed that I'm not the one because I actually do this for a living. And then he all of a sudden recognizes me and then he realizes that we have been talking before. Then I just reconfirmed with him that he was the farmer owning the land, living at the property on the other side of the road. Ja, det tror jeg. Er du landmanden derovre fra, ikke? Jo. Of course he was super annoyed because this has happened twice recently. And I told him he should not put up with this because the pilot is breaking the law. The drone was low on battery and it's not according to the book that somebody interferes with you during an active flight, so I just asked him politely if I could land the drone so we could continue the discussion. While the drone is auto landing, we continued the discussion and he's asking questions, what if it was like a public instance that was doing this drone flight instead of a private person. Then he's asking or maybe concluding if the government is allowed to fly over his fields or his areas without prior permission. To my best knowledge, they can do that without asking permission because the farmer does not own the airspace above his fields. But I find it very hard to believe if they are allowed to invade people's privacy. So I find it very unlikely this is the government that has been performing those flights. It's more a private person that found the garden where the farmer lives quite interesting and wanted to see what's going on. And I ended up reconfirming the agreement I made last time with this guy, that I could continue flying over his fields as long as I didn't fly in close proximity where he lived. So this was a very good example that you can't really predict what happens when people are approaching you when you are out flying. So this is the spot. Let's just park here. We are on location. Let's get everything set up. So this is basically the suction cup that we used before. It does not need to be strapped exactly to the car. Then there's the GoPro Hero 12. And then there's the wind muff that goes over the microphones that would basically help take some of the wind noise. So this is basically the setup that I will be using here today. Let's get the drone up in the air. We'll just start by enabling the screen recorder here. That makes everything a little bit easier. Just swipe down here and press record so you get this little counter in the base of the screen.
So 4K 30 FPS, and then we basically just hand launch it here. So let's get it out here. And start some video. You can see this is the farm over there. This is the farm where the farmer is basically, this is his farm. You can see the location where I have the car. This is basically where he stopped me. And we had this conversation about me invading his privacy. And it was not me. I fully respect people's privacy, and I understand that it would be super annoying if somebody flew a drone into my hovering over my garden and trying to see whatever it is that I was doing, because I have nothing to hide. But still, come on, you should not be an idiot when you're flying your drone and spy on people, that's for sure. So okay, so as I said in the beginning of the video, there's a lot of things that have changed here in Denmark. There was a new regulation that was being released. Oh, it's squeezing a lot here. There was a new regulation on update of the current drone rules that was released by the beginning of this year. And what they basically tried to do was to collect input from drone pilots to sort of figure out what could be done to improve it. And it's not in all areas it's an improvement, that's for sure. But in the past you were not supposed to be able to cross a road like this. If the speed limit was 70 kilometers or higher on a main road like this, you were not allowed to cross it. It was a major inconvenience, because if I had to cross this road, I would have to land the drone and then manually walk to the other side and launch it again. And I guess they realized this was kind of stupid. So right now what you are allowed to do is, if the sole purpose of crossing the road is to cross the road, you can go and then you simply wait until there's no traffic, and then you are allowed to cross onto the other side. So that's at least a good improvement of compared to the previous regulations. And now we can't see anything here, so let's just bring it back here to the other side. So we cross the road perpendicular. No traffic. It's a 250-gram drone, so I'm not even sure that nobody would notice if it ever hit a car or such. Back it off. It's SRAM leg that you see in the back. Now some of you will probably say that I should unfold the antennas, so I'll do that. That at least improves the signal towards the drone a lot. The DJI RC2 is a major improvement to the first one. I frequently, when I was out here, not only with the original smart controller, but also with the DJI RC together with the Mini 3 Pro, I had a lot of problems with the signal breakups, even in close proximities. And if you're not already watched it, I actually released a video here this week where I was reviewing the FCC mod from Drone Tweaks, and with that tweak you will basically be able to flick the drone into FCC mode in case that you are running into some severe signal interferences that are preventing you from flying. Just know that there are some disclaimers in that video, so watch it carefully before you attempt to use this. But there are purchase links and everything inside that video, and also a demonstration how you can see the difference if the drone is in CE or FCC mode. Let's just jump in here. Let me just show you. Basically what you need to look at is the 1 kilometer marker in the transmission tab. If that one is the minus 90 dB line, if that is close to the 1 kilometer mark, it is in CE mode, and there will be separation between those two if the drone is forced into FCC mode. If that is something that's interesting to you, you can check it out through this card. Okay, so the culprit of the whole discussion was that somebody was flying over the farmer's private property. And until 1st of January 2024, this was actually not allowed here in Denmark. Under no circumstances, you should keep outside, I think it was called fence, wall, I don't know, but the normal natural separation of a private property. You should keep outside that, and you were under no circumstances allowed to cross that. In some cases, especially inside the city, or you maybe need to go from point A to point B, this was really, really inconvenient. So what they basically did was they changed the rules. So now you are allowed to fly from point A to point B. Even if you cross private property, you are allowed to do so if you are above 100 meters and you fly in a velocity that's faster than 5 meters per second. So let's say that this is private property. So if I go to 100 meters, which I'm doing right now, so 105, the legal limit is 120. So if I stay in 100 meters height and I'm flying at a velocity faster than 5 meters per second, I'm actually allowed to cross private property. So that will make it a lot easier to handle this in real life. And also, if you are in 100 meters height, if you're flying one of the mini drones, I will be pretty surprised if it was noticed. So even though you can now fly to point A to point B and cross private property in a certain height with a certain speed, you still need to respect people's privacy. There are strict rules about what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. They are of course different from country to country. This is something that can get you really into problems. Because if I look at some of the people that have been convicted here in Denmark, it has in most of the times been because they have been invading people's privacy. Don't be an idiot when you're flying your drone. Be considerate and don't film people in their private space. And the majority of us couldn't give a about their private business. It's actually quite funny that most of them think that they are interesting enough that we want to spend our time on spying on them. I couldn't care less if they were running around butt naked in their gardens, as long as they stay away from mine. Many of you suggested maybe he's hiding something. I don't think so, but I can easily see that it's super annoying if somebody flew their drone. At least if they did that on my property, I would be super annoying if a drone was hovering over my garden, not knowing what the intention was of their business. I can't really remember if these changes, crossing the road, flying from point A to point B in a plus 100 meter at a minimum of 5 meters per second, if those are actually local rules. I would probably bet they are. But it seems like a general assumption that the airspace is nobody's property, so they can't really claim that. But at least we have it in writing right now. But I would not be surprised if those rules are specific to Denmark. And this is basically the whole problem with these new updated rules from EASA EU, is that they started out with the intention that everything should be the same. So you could go from country to country and just apply as a drone operator in one country and then make sure that you can fly in all other countries. But it seems now they are putting all sorts of different restrictions in there that makes it different if you go from one country to another. So please make sure if you go to one of the EU member states to check up on the local drone regulations so you don't run into problems. And we can do like a nice hand landing. So let's get the drone down in position. And sometimes I can't make it land in my hand. So what I need to do now is I simply need to just make it go lower, and then I grab it like this, and then I turn it. Okay. So I know people are saying that this might hurt the gimbal and stuff, but I've done it many times and I actually haven't had any issues doing that. But if you are concerned about damaging your gimbal, then it's pretty simple, don't do it. So new drone rules in Denmark, or at least updated drone rules by 1st of January 2024. In case you want to get an overview of what those are all about, then I'll make sure to leave a video that you can access through this card. All right, I want to go back now, and I hope you enjoyed this revisit to the location where we talked to the farmer last time. If you did, then feel free to share the video, at least so everybody that goes to these necks of the woods are aware of the updates of the drone regulations. And I hope you liked this video. If you did, then feel free to give a like. If you didn't like it, feel free to press the dislike button twice. Thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you around.